Hey there, Toolaholics. Today we're going to be making some delicious spalted maple cookies. So I'm starting out here by trying to stand this log that I've got in the bush that's been sitting there for about 5 years and getting all nice and spalted. Trying to stand it up on its end, but the problem is heavy things are heavy. So messing around. I don't have any equipment to stand this up. So the best way to do things that are heavy and hard when you don't have equipment is swearing. Well, that end was way too heavy. Now I'm going to try the other end, which is a little bit smaller and sitting on different stuff, and yay, success! So the question is, why did I want to stand it up to cut cookies? Well, I have a chainsaw mill. Unfortunately, my chainsaw mill isn't big enough for this log, which is about 3 feet across. So I was hoping that maybe I could set up the chainsaw mill and cut as much as possible around the edges with it, and then cut the rest of the way through and get nice, straight, even cookies. So the first step was to get a flat surface to start with. I decided to do that by putting on some pieces of plywood with some screws, and you can see that's what I'm working at right here. And then setting it nice and flat, using this 2 foot level as a straight edge, not as a level. So I'll put some shims in and use the screws to get a nice flat surface. And you can see as I work along how I do this. Use a chainsaw to trim the edges of the plywood a little bit. Another piece of plywood, and get the whole top leveled off nice, and let's see if this will work. Here's a hint. It's not going to work. But we'll try it anyways, and you can learn from my mistakes, although getting the flat surface would have worked if my chainsaw mill would have cut through the log. None of this has to be fancy. It doesn't have to look pretty. It just has to work. And technically it would have worked because I got the flat surface, but I wasn't able to cut through enough. So let's watch my sweet ass and see how this goes. So the way I'm looking at the level here, I'm just looking for gaps underneath it, or if it weeble wobbles back and forth. Then I decided to use the Milwaukee battery chainsaw to trim off the rest because it's smaller and lighter, and it starts by pulling the trigger, which is really nice. So got it all trimmed up to the edge of the log, and then that means that the plywood that's sticking out won't interfere with the chainsaw mill, which, well, that's the theory anyways. We'll see how well it works. Still a last check to make sure everything's still all flat, which it is. One last check, make sure everything is all sitting nice and flat, which it is. And probably gonna wipe off any sawdust so that the chainsaw mill sits nice and flat on top of the plywood. I got my chainsaw mill out. As you can see, it won't fit all the way through the log. To look at my sweet, sweet ass again while I start it. Sexy. Alright, so let's see how much of this I can cut by wrangling it around on the edges and get things cut in on the edge. Spoiler alert, it wasn't enough. So as you can see, I'm not cutting a real thick cookie off here. I'm just trying to get a flat top on my log so that I can run on my log to cut the cookies. And the first cut, you need to just shave off a little bit so that you have a flat end for your first cookie. And this would have worked great, and I would have been able to cut a whole log full of perfect cookies if I had a bigger chainsaw that would fit all the way through the log. Well, here I got the chainsaw out of the mill, and I'm going to try and cut through and use the cuts on the edge as a guide to guide the bar to keep my cut nice and perfectly straight. And I'm using a regular crosscut chain here, and not a milling chain, because even though I was using the chainsaw mill, I'm doing crosscuts, so it seems like it makes sense. I'm not sure if the ripping blade or the ripping chain would give a cleaner cut for crosscuts or not. It probably would, but both my ripping chains were dull, so I decided to go with the sharp crosscuts. Well, relatively sharp-ish crosscut. Hey, yay! So I got the top cut off. Let's throw that off and see how it went. Oh, crap. That didn't work out very well at all. Alright, so I guess we need to figure out something else. Oh, that didn't work. So I tipped the log back over and try and just cut the cookies by hand. This one I didn't mark out, and that was a mistake. So I decided to just eyeball things and cut all the way through the log with the chainsaw and see how straight and even and parallel to the end I could do it with that way. As you can see here, by the fact that the bar is not sticking out at the other end, even when the chainsaw with the 24-inch bar isn't in the chainsaw mill, it doesn't cut all the way through this log. If I had a longer bar, even just cutting the cookies this way by hand would have been easier and worked out better than it did. And here's a part in the video where I don't have much to say about what I'm doing, so I'll say you should like and subscribe and leave comments and all of that fancy stuff. Alright, so I got cut all the way through on the one side, and I put my bar into the kerf and hopefully use the kerf as a guide to cut in through the other side and get a straight-ish, flat-ish cut. So I ran into something there that decided to bog things down and got that cleared out. And hopefully we're gonna get through here eventually. The problem was my chain tension was a little bit too loose there, so I'm going to tighten that up and get sitting back tighter so that we're going to be cutting back properly again. And there we go. We're off to the races. Hey, I got another sliver cut off to hopefully get a clean cut, which isn't that clean and isn't that straight. So let's try and clean it up a little bit and see if I can improve it a little bit. And I'm going to stand around and wonder about my life choices and why must I fail at every attempt at cutting a cookie. Well, here I go, trying to cut a cookie again. And let's see how this time works out. Maybe it'll work better for some magical reason that, practice, that's what it is. Maybe practice made me better at it. So, it's cutting through quicker this time anyways, that's a little different. Either that or I set the speed of the video faster. You'll never know which of the two it is. So, almost through here. Let's see how this one turned out. Oh, that one didn't turn out so well either. It's sort of flat-ish, but not very, and we'll cut out another one. So what I found out was that I could cut a lot better, straighter cookies if I took a tape measure and Sharpie and marked a line along the edge and gave me got an actual measured guide to cut to. But I'm not sure if I marked out this one before I started cutting or not. But anyways, we have another cookie. It's not a perfect cookie, but it's a cookie. And actually this one looks a little better than the other ones did, so I must have marked it out. Or maybe I just got better from practice. So here I'm just trying to prop this up so that when I'm cutting through the bottom of the log, I don't get my chain into the dirt. As soon as you get chain into dirt, the chain goes dull really, really fast. And the sharper your chain is, the better your chances are of getting a straight cut. So you really want to try and protect your chain from the dirt. As you can see, the log's gotten a little bit smaller. You can see all the nice spalted spalting in this maple log and the nice patterns. And here we go, cutting again. Man, what a repetitive and boring video this is. I wonder if I should go back and edit again and increase the speed some more. Oh, I see here apparently my cut went very crooked and I'm trying to clean it up. And did it work? Well, maybe a little bit. It's better than it was at least. So this is where I started marking the cookies out with a tape measure. So, you can see here I'm scribing out a line. It was 3 or 4 inches. I don't remember how thick I was cutting my cookies offhand at the moment, but scribing a line the same distance from the edge. You could use a scribing tool if you wanted, or make up some kind of a fancy jig. But I had a tape measure line there, and tape measures measure things, so that worked. You didn't even need to be a specific number of inches. I could have just held a stick there and put the Sharpie on the end of it. But anyway, you can make things work is the right way to make things work. So let's see if I get a better cut after I've scribed a line. I realize you've been getting lots of opportunity here to stare at my sweet, sweet ass, so if you need to pause and have some alone time, then I can understand. Alright, so I'm cutting from the other side this time. I'm not sure why. It's just them. And also, I went and looked up some videos about log home building, and they suggested that not cutting all the way through the full depth of the bar is the way the professional log home builders cut the ends of logs. So you cut partway through, and then you cut a little bit more through. Except I decided to scribe the line, and then bury the bar all the way in. And spoiler alert, this didn't work out as well as I'd hoped it would either. Oh, here's my cookie. You can see it's crooked on the bottom, but the top a little bit a lot straighter. So we had marginal success, and marginal success is an improvement. So any improvement is a positive thing, and you just gotta keep on going until you get things figured out. So I'm scribing another one, and we're gonna try another one with my cookie all scribed. Yeah, so this time I decided to give up on trying to do all the fancy tricks and just bury the bar right in the log and cut the way through and hopefully get a pretty decent cut. I do have the scribed line, which does help. I don't know where the fuck I went there. I went to get the ear protection. Chainsaws are loud. When you're using a chainsaw for an extended period of time, it's really loud. Also, having the helmet with the ear protectors makes me look all really cool and professional. Yay, I got another cookie cut. If anyone's worried about safety here, I just want to let you know that when I wasn't wearing the helmet with the visor on it, I had my safety splints engaged the whole time, and I am wearing glasses, so that helps a little bit, but don't do what Donnie Don't does. Go in, if you're going to do something like this, do all the safety things, or you get hurt, because safety things are there for a reason. Alright, so I'm just going to check this cookie and see how flat I got it. Oh, actually, you can see there's not really gaps under the level there, so it's pretty straight. And it's roughly the same thickness all the way along. So here, I decided to clean up some of the cookies that I cut that weren't so great by using a brushing technique with my chainsaw. And I'm definitely not very good at this, but you don't get good at this unless you do it. So either find things that you don't care if you screw up, or just fucking give her and learn eventually and wreck some things that you might not have wanted to wreck, but oh well, you learned things. So the key to brushing apparently is to have the bar tipped up and very, very light pressure on the bar, and keep it moving around quite a bit. Don't let it sit still in any spots, because the chain bar will just dig right in. I found that cross-hatching worked well, so I'd go in one direction and then sort of rotate things around and kind of go in the opposite direction, and it would bite off more of the stuff that I wanted it to bite off. Hey, look at that. Here to the other side. As you can see it's really, really not flat there. So I can use the chainsaw to brush that down. Now, eventually, when this, after my cookies are dried, I'm going to have to flatten them properly and perfectly to make anything out of them, which means they don't really need to be perfect. But I wanted to get them kind of sort of close-ish to uniform thickness and flattish before I stack them up to dry, because I figured maybe they'll crack a little bit less that way, and also I'll have a better chance, I'll have to do a lot less work to flatten them after they've dried. And periodically check with the level to see how I'm doing about with getting everything nice and flat, and then run out of fuel. So when you're running the chainsaw constantly like this, you're really going through almost as much bar oil as you are fuel, so it's important to make sure you keep that topped up. And this has been my misadventures and making large cookies for furniture. I hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully my mistakes will save you a few of them.